a wonderful season, and that you're ready for the launch of this new year, and it's begun smoothly for everyone. Megan, would you please share our mission statement for the Early Learning Board?
Sure. Thank you, Bob. Hi, everyone. The mission is to support children's academic and lifelong well-being by directing and supporting the EOEL for an effective, coordinated, high-quality early learning system from prenatal to kindergarten entry.
Okay, we keep that in mind as we pursue our deliberations for today. I want to take attendance to ensure we have a quorum. Justina?
Present.
Thank you. Erin?
Here.
Yelani?
Aloha, I'm here.
Megan?
Here.
Ben?
Here.
May?
Here.
Peters is here, Napua.
Here.
Marty?
I'm here.
Carrie?
Here.
Melody?
Aloha here.
Thank you. Dana, Luca,
Here.
Rochelle,
Here.
Kim, Gabe for Steve.
Good afternoon. I'm here.
Thank you. Matt Shim.
Here.
We have a full house. Auspicious way to begin the year. Before we actually launch into the agenda for today, I wanted to ask Emma Christopherson, who is our new Deputy Attorney General, even though she introduced herself in our email with the board material, to allow her to say a few words so that you can both hear her voice and see who she is, and we can officially welcome Emma to working with our board. Emma, would you like to say a few words, please?
Sure, I'll just say, hello, I'm Emma Christopherson, and I'm the new Deputy Attorney General assigned to the Early Learning Board. So it's great to be here, and I look forward to working with you. I also have Ann Horiuchi, who will also be helping me. Thank you.
Welcome, Emma. Nice to have you with us. And we look forward to developing this relationship, and nice to have you sitting in the session once again. Delighted to have you. We want to thank Mike Azuma for his guidance over the past year. He has been reappointed for other work, and Emma has stepped into his particular seat. So those are the only announcements for this meeting. So we'll move to an approval of the minutes from the December 8th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved. This is Ku'ilani.
Okay, Yelani, thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Melody.
Melody, a second. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote to approve the minutes as presented. Justina,
Aye.
Erin,
Aye.
Yelani,
Aye.
Megan,
Aye.
Ben,
Aye.
May.
Aye.
I vote aye. Napua,
Aye.
Mari,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
and Melody.
Aye.
And the minutes have been approved as circulated. Thank you. And we'll open up the floor for any public comment that people wish to make at this point in the meeting. Anything in the chat, Jordana? No. We see nothing in the chat, So I'm assuming that there's no public comment to be made at this time in the meeting. There will be another opportunity before the meeting closes. So let's move to item number 4, which is an exciting piece of information. Kim Gieb is standing in for Steve Schatz, who is not able to join us after all today, to share with us the good news about the PDGB-5 grant and to give us an overview of the contents of the grant. So Kim, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for giving us this time to present on the Preschool Development Grant Birth Through 5 Renewal Grant. And I will be presenting this information along with Yuko. And before I start, I really want to echo and reiterate Yuko's sentiment in respect to really appreciating, thanking the executive committees as well as the executive teams of from the Department of Human Services, Department of Ed, Department of Health, and of course the ELB, EOEL, and the University of Hawaii and the Charter School Commission, and really releasing their teams to help us write up the grant. As you recall, it was a whirlwind of meetings and getting together for 2 weeks. We pretty much had 2 weeks to get everything together and write up the grant and submit the grant. And we had to go through the university procurement system, so that really kind of shortened our timeline. And we were able to submit it on time and really have this opportunity to share this good news. So Ashley, if you could please share the PDF, please. So as this gets started, Yuko, I don't know if you want to have something you want to share.
I can see it up here, but it's not showing live on. Okay, while we're waiting for the presentation to load for those of you who are online, I just wanted to again say it's been a great partnership with P20, and we are looking forward to a lot of the work that's going to be detailed in this. And eventually I'll share the responsibility of EOEL/ELB in this effort. So thank you, Kim. I think your presentation's up now.
Thank you. So next slide, please. We wanted to just share a little bit about the Preschool Development Birth Through 5 program at the federal level. As you recall, this is a competitive federal grant to help improve our state as well as other states' early childhood system by building upon existing federal, state, and local early care and learning investments. This program was initially established in 2015 through the Bipartisan Early Student and Succeed Act. And the funding for this program is appropriated through the Department of Health and Human Services, at the same time jointly administered by HSS as well as the U.S. Department of Education. Next slide, please. And when this was first shared with respect to the renewal grant, we were informed that there was a total funding available to the eligible states was about $230 million. And the beginning date of this grant is 12/30/2022, which is a really interesting time, but that is the start date of the grant. And the anticipated project period is 36 months. Next slide, please. I wanted to give you a really quick overview of our state's preschool development grant participation. We actually started participating in the program back in 2014. As some of you may recall, our first preschool development grant was the Legacy Grant. And that was about over $14 million for 4 years. And this grant established the charter school public pre-kindergarten program with the 18 charter schools, which is now funded by the state legislation. And in 2018, we were awarded the Preschool Development Birth through 5 Initial Grant, also known as the Planning Grant. And this was a 1-year grant, which we had about close to $1 million to conduct a comprehensive statewide needs assessment, develop our strategic implementation plan that aligns with our early childhood state plan. And we have, through this funding, established the Hawaii Early Childhood website. And then we are really happy to and really excited to be sharing that we are the recipient of the 2022, the Preschool Development Renewal Grant. Right now, we are given $6.6 million for year 1. And this is to update our statewide needs assessment as well as our strategic implementation plan. And a lot of the focus and the emphasis on this renewal grant is on strengthening our career pathways and expanding infant and toddler care, as well as looking at family choices, as well as maximizing family engagement. Next slide, please. So this is just letting you know of our renewal grant. We have kept the title, Our Keiki, Our Ohana, Our Future, which was the initial grant title. Budget, as I've shared with you, is about $6.6 million for year 1. And the leads are Executive Office on Early Learning, as well as Hawaii P20 as the principal investigator. And the partners include our charter school commissions, Department of Human Services, Department of Health, HIDO, and University of Hawaii. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to share with you the projected budget allocation. And if you look at this, about 67% of the budget will be sub-awarded or subcontracted for services. And this was really to ensure that we are strengthening our early learning system through public-private partnership. Yuko, I don't know if you want to share anything about the budget allocation.
No, you're fine, Kim.
And one thing that we are really excited is that we're able to provide some funding at the city and county level, and we will be working with our city and county coordinators. Next slide, please. We wanted to make sure that we are aligning with what's already happening in our state, as well as the initial grant. So the driving element of our Hawaii's Preschool Development Grant is of course, the Early Childhood State Plan, as well as the Early Childhood Strategic Implementation Plan and the Act 46 and Act 210. We wanted to utilize what's happening in our state to ensure that what we are doing through the Preschool Development Renewal Grant, we are supporting the expansion of not only the public pre-K, but also supporting our community-based preschool providers, not only at the center base, but also for home base, as well as the home visiting programs. Next slide, please. So these are the required activities. So updating the needs assessment, updating the strategic plan, maximizing parent and family engagement into birth to 5 system, supporting our workforce, as well as disseminating best practices through our website, as well as support program quality improvement and enhancing quality and expanding access to existing and new programs. So we had an initial webinar yesterday, and what was shared with us is that we are able to work on all the first 4 activities. We have to kind of wait to work on activity 5 until the needs assessment has been completed. At the same time, if there are activities within activity 5 that we can start, we just need to get approval from our federal project officers. Next slide, please. So next, about 5 to 6 slides give a little bit more details about what we're going to be doing for each of the activities. So as you recall, in the initial grant, we did do a comprehensive statewide needs assessment. So with the renewal grant, we are going to be actually focusing a little bit more on areas that we did not have, I want to say, didn't target very well in a way. So updating the risk and reach, specifically focusing on the impact of post-pandemic, as well as infant, toddler, and early childhood workforce needs. We want to also look at, understand family preferences for early care and education options. I know that this is one thing that we felt we probably wasn't able to do with the initial needs assessment. Determine economic impact. Wanted to increase awareness of the economic value of our early childhood sector. And we did input in here, even though it's integrate data, it's not necessarily that we want to immediately look into early childhood integrated data system, but rather explore and have a better understanding of what it would mean for us to have an integrated data system in our state. Next slide, please. So activity 2 is pretty much self-explanatory. We're gonna be updating our strategic implementation plan because it is gonna expire, I believe, in 2023 and 2024. Okay. Next slide, please. In the activity 3, as you see, we have state level, county level, and individual level activities to maximize parent and family engagement in the birth to 5 system. So all of these activities, it's not that it's going to be something that our office or ELBL will be doing, but rather it's going to be in partnership with contract consultants, as well as with city and county coordinators. Next slide, please. We have a huge, I want to say, funding opportunity to support our birth to 5 workforce, especially focusing on supporting our infant toddler caregivers and educators. And included in here is that we want to provide mental health support. I think this was something that came up through the pandemic. Next slide, please. With respect to program quality, we are looking at expanding the early Head Start and childcare partnership and working with family childcare home providers, as well as provide trauma-informed care workshops and transition support workshops, and establish a continuous quality improvement and technical assistance system with Department of Human Services and the University of Hawaii. And as you recall, in our Act 2, Act 46 and 210, there is a sort of a required activity for recipients of preschool open doors, that they have to be either accredited or have a satisfactory rating threshold. So this is the reason why we've included a class baseline setting study in activity 5. Next slide, please. In activity 6, this is where bulk of our money will be distributed and awarded for sub-grants who will be able to provide shared services program, especially for family childcare home providers, providing developmental screenings for children enrolled in our public pre-K program, expansion, as I have mentioned, expansion of early Head Start partnership, and technical assistance to achieve accreditation or class satisfactory threshold rating. Next slide, please. So within the birth to 5 renewal grant, there were 3 optional activities, and we decided we've actually selected the bonus option 2, and we're going to be implementing a wage stipend initiative. And this is to develop and implement and evaluate wage stipend initiative. And we're going to be targeting infant toddler caregivers as well as early educators and caregivers enrolled in ECE college courses. Next slide, please. So this just shows a very brief overview of what our governance structure will look like with ELB, EOEL, and P20. I'll just leave it at that. Any questions or comments from Yuko or any of the writing team? Hopefully I've represented our collective efforts appropriately.
Kim, are you willing to take some questions?
Yes, so next slide is a
Oh, I'm
Q&A.
sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to see if there were any comments from our partners and the writing team.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt the flow of what you were seeking to do.
Oh, no worries.
All right, now is the time for questions. if people have-
Hopefully I'll be able to answer these questions. If not, I will ask my colleagues and partners to help me.
All right, the floor is open.
Yes, Carrie.
Okay, anything? I don't see anything in the chat at this point. Georgina, am I correct? Your what?
Carrie has a hand raised.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
thanks, Kim. And thank you. This is really exciting. There's lots of very important work that we're going to be able to initially fund through this. What's the strategy for all of us as we think about sustaining these initial investments? Because a lot of these pieces look to be really important systems pieces. And so are we also going to be developing a sustainability strategy and then related policy that will be required?
So one of the grant, I want to say what activities that I didn't share was about sustainability plans. So definitely when we look at the governance structure, we will be working with ELB as well as EOEL. We'll be working with our partners to really think about what are some things that we want to sustain, especially those that have made greatest impact. And what's interesting was that was also a question that came up at the webinar yesterday. Same thing, question about sustainability. And that question was asked to the federal PDG or to 5 program officer. And his response was kind of the same. It'll be up to the state to think about what would make the greatest impact or have made the greatest impact. And those are some things that we want to possibly request legislative funding as well as philanthropic organizations. I think the part that's going to be important is the data component, right? And so in our needs assessment, it does say what are specific important data that we need to think about with respect to policy and equity issues around supporting our early learning system. Hopefully I answered your question. I definitely, I think we need to start from today, right? It's not wait until year 3 and then say, yeah, let's think about sustainability plan.
Okay. Justina, I see you have a question.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for this overview. It's very helpful. And I was wondering about what you had said in the very beginning, which was of those 5 elements, the last 2, 4, and 5 will need to kind of be on hold and maybe unless there's something that's really happening that you could get permission to work on. Was the sense that those would start up in like a year or two, or I don't know if there's any sort of timeline kind of rationale for it, or just saying a little bit more about that would be helpful. And then one other, just I'm hoping that it's possible to share the full version of what was submitted, or can we look at that now? I think I'll hold Steve to accountable because he said once it was awarded, we could look at the actual, I think he said we could look at what was submitted as the application.
Yes, so the first question with respect to activity 5 and 6, in the notification of funding opportunity, it was written that activity 5 and 6 could not start until the needs assessment has been completed. In our webinar, that was clarified. They had originally intended to remove that and they forgot. So thankfully, it's good to know that even our federal program officers, or even at the federal level, we do make errors or have oversights. And having said that, it was clarified that if we know that those activities and services is not going to change when we do the needs assessment, we can start right away as long as we get federal project officers approval. So we do have a meeting with our federal project officer within like a couple weeks, and we'll let them know that, you know what, these activities, we kind of know that we need them right now, and be able to do a request for funding proposal. We hope to release that in spring. Hopefully we get everything together so that we will have that opportunity at the public level. And with respect to the grant application, I apologize. I thought we had shared it with you all, and if we hadn't, we'll make sure that that gets shared with the ELB members. Yuko, I don't know if you wanted to say something.
Yeah. Carrie has another question, but she's willing to wait till the others have had a chance to ask theirs. Anyone else have questions? Or comments? Both are allowed. Carrie, I don't see anybody. Oops. Ben, sorry.
Yeah, just a quick comment. Pretty excited about Hawaii getting this grant opportunity, and excited to see language in there about early head start childcare partnerships. Our agency is the only one in Hawaii that holds the early head start childcare partnership grant. So, you know, I do want to offer any kind of assistance, or just to, if you guys, I'm sure you guys will be reaching out, because it can be a little bit complicated in the partnership model that was rolled out, I want to say, 6 years ago through Office of Head Start and Office of Child Care. So excited to see how that pans out, and getting involved if needed. Thanks.
Oh no, Ben, you're not off the hook. We will definitely reach out. And within the, once you have an opportunity to read the grant, we did include in there the ELB advisory role in the grant, as well as I believe it is the strategic implementation committee we will ask for assistance. And I believe you're the lead.
Yeah, I know the guy. I know the guy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I know where his office is.
Kim, don't scare him away now. Please.
It's okay. I know his assistant director, so.
All right.
Carrie?
Carrie, go ahead.
Yeah, just one final comment, I guess, about making sure that there's several pieces that I just saw in the slides, you know, without reading the actual application, where there is work underway, investments have been made. You know, I just want to make sure that we're maximizing all of the resources and money that's already been allocated or is going to be allocated, and we do that in a really aligned way. And making sure that we're doing it in a way that we're lining ourselves up for sustainability, that none of these funds are going to replace funds that should be picked up by the state as ongoing line items, for example, right? These are short-term funds. And so I just want to make sure we're working collaboratively with all of the efforts that are underway.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much. And we realized once we were awarded, especially the core team, we said, oh my goodness, we really need to sit down and talk about, we need like a really big whiteboard and write down all the things that are sort of happening simultaneously, but how can we blend all of these efforts together? Exactly to your point that we're not supplanting any of the opportunities. The other thing I do want to share that the budget is for year one, right? So there is a huge amount of money that's being allocated for needs assessment. So once the needs assessment has been completed, we're hoping that it'll be completed within about 6 to 9 months, but that doesn't, we plan, but that might not always happen. And so that funds is gonna be available for year 2. And so we will probably have to think about what are we gonna do? What are some strategies or priorities that we wanna put in that's gonna be for year 2.
And before, I don't see any other questions, but I did have a comment and a question. The comment, first of all, is this is so exciting and congratulations to everyone. I'm really pleased too to see how well aligned the elements in the PGGB5 grant application are with a roadmap that was designed for the expansion process, including the data pieces and the needs assessment. So it's exciting to see the pieces all fitting together so well. I want to be sure I'm clear about that 6 million plus that's for this first year. Is it the same amount for the next 2 years? So each year has
It's
that.
supposed to be,
Okay.
and so it was, sorry, I'll have you finish first.
No, go ahead.
And what was shared at our webinar was that if, like all federal grants, even though we have all the good intentions, but it doesn't get spent. So what's interesting at this time around was that they usually tell us, wait, we will get back to you if carryover is going to be available. But at this webinar, it was shared that after year 1, if they know that it doesn't, you're not able to spend, immediately, we will do a request for carryover. And then year 2, and then if we didn't finish, then we can also request for carryover. I think the reason they share this with us is because the first cohorts of states who have received the renewal grant, that has been their experience. So we are sort of we should be really grateful that they already went through that first the renewal grant process, so that we can go through that process a lot easier and quicker.
Thank you.
And sorry, your point about the roadmap, that's because the folks who were involved in the write-up were all aware of what was happening. And so, thanks to Lane and Yuko, Jordana and Keiko, and of course, Chris and Dana. I mean, all these people were like, they already knew what was happening. So writing this grant was, I want to say seamless, but at the same, I don't want to say it was simple. It was really complicated. And Terry, oh my gosh, Terry.
Well, we appreciate all the work that everybody has done there. 2 additional questions have popped up in the chat. One is, will a copy of the slides be available to everybody on the board? And the second is there a matching requirement at all to the PGGB5 state or other sources of funding?
Yeah, oh, I should have added that, right? There's a 30% match. So with 6.6 million, we're looking at about a little bit over $2 million of match where we're gonna get that. We're just gonna ask for people to, no, I'm just kidding. So it's, part of it is in-kind from EOEL as well as in-kind from P20. And we've done, P20 has received other federal grants. And one of the matching that we were able to do is media match. So once you have access to the application, you see that there are some media campaigns that we're gonna put in, and we can ask the media who are getting the funding to do a cost share. And we were able to do cost share or meet the cost share funds through media campaigns with our other federal grants.
Right,
I know
thank
that
you.
Chris had a comment as well, or Chris had her hand raised.
Thanks, Kim. Just as a thought partner in the process, and to Carrie's question about leveraging resources and making sure that we understand what's happening already within the state, just wanted to remind folks that when we developed our first the state early childhood plan, we did an environmental scan and really took the time to understand what the different departments are doing with regards to young children and their families, as well as community stakeholders, and looked at, other plans in place. And we want to make sure that we're not, obviously, we're wanting to take advantage of, there's so many good things happening already, and we want to be able to leverage and elevate a lot of those things. I think it's just it's an exciting opportunity. And I think the other thing about the needs assessment is that it really wants us to take a look at the impact of COVID over the past few years and how our initial needs assessment might have been impacted by that, so that we will have a much more accurate picture of what the state looks like at this point and what our needs are. So yeah, this is great timing. Thanks.
Because Erin had a comment. Does Erin had a comment in the chat? Erin, she has a comment.
Erin?
Hi. Yes, I just wanted to just say thank you to all of the team that wrote got this proposal up and running and approved and routed and all the things that need to happen. I know it takes a lot of energy and effort, so just want to say thank you for making this happen for the state.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I think we probably all echo that, and it's really exciting to see the emphasis on infant intolerance as well, built into the document, which is one of the things obviously we've been seeking to give more attention to. So thank you.
Sorry,
right,
if I could just get a really
Sure.
quick clarification, Carrie. The PDF has been shared, but did you want the PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, no,
actually-
if the if the PDFs have been shared, sorry, I didn't see them in the email. If they've already been shared, that's
No.
all we need, just the slides.
It was not in the email, Carrie.
Okay.
Tim, are you saying it's shareable with the board?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, then we can send it out.
And then at the same time, is it okay if I ask either Ashley or someone who's going to be sending out the PDF of the presentation to add the application? Is that okay?
I'll work with Ashley on that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
Anything
you
else,
so
Kim?
much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for stepping in for Steve. We appreciate all the work that everybody has done and are excited about the future efforts. And it's sort of a good segue into our executive office on early learning update reports with also some information about the grant role and an additional budget request. So we have a bit to do. Yuko, I'm going to turn it over to you and your staff.
Great. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Kevin, if you can bring it up, please. So Kevin is going to be bringing up our slides, but we'll go right into EOEL updates for today's board. And so I'll have Jordana speak first, and then I will share on our EOEL public pre-K program. I haven't been able to see if Alohi's on yet, but if not, I can speak for her, and then we'll finish with Chris, and then we'll go into some other updates. So Jordana.
Just a few quick updates. So the legislative budget briefings have been scheduled. So we had our first budget briefing with the House Committee on Finance on the 10th at 9 o'clock in the morning. The next one will be tomorrow at 9:30 with the Senate Committee on Ways and Means. And then, that is a joint briefing. So it's Ways and Means and Education. And then again, tomorrow at 3 p.m., we have informational education briefing for the House Committee. We are in the process of the new budget review process with the new administration. Our forms are actually due today, but you will cover that in the next presentation. I think that's it though, unless anyone has questions.
Any questions for Jordana? I think I do want to make one comment. We want to thank you guys for all the extra work you're doing to get things done on the schedule that's being demanded at the moment with rapid turnarounds. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. So for our EOEL public pre-kindergarten, our Q2 enrollment is 427 students. And our application process for this upcoming school year will begin on March 1st. Alohi?
Yes. Aloha, everyone. I just wanted to share along with our exciting announcement of the PDGB-5 renewal grant. I also want to share that we're going to be resuming information collection on progress of our strategic implementation plans. This is the last year of the strategic implementation plans. And so we'll be reaching out to our champions and partners in various forms, and more information will be provided on those collection methods.
Thank you. Next slide. Chris?
Thanks, Yuko. So just wanted to share out that the Head Start and Early Head Start programs have a number of state level MOUs developed with state partners that I've helped to coordinate. So we're in the process now of reviewing and updating those MOUs. We have about 10 of them in place with Department of Health, Human Services, and DOE to support coordination and service delivery for our kiddos and families to leverage resources. So that's happening right now and will be vetted with the directors prior to approval and obtaining of signatures. I'm not sure about the second bullet because we're not sure if we're going to be we just had our quarterly association board meeting, but we did not have Region 9 leadership available at that time. The quarterly board meetings are just an opportunity for our association board members to talk about different issues and provide updates, hear about what's happening within the state, etc. So those are always really good for all of our Head Start community to learn more about. The third bullet is what I meant. We were trying to coordinate a meeting with our Region 9, Office of Head Start Region 9 leadership team, UCO and Child Care Program Office. The Region 9 is really interested in learning more from the different states about what their licensing rules and regs entail, and any ways that Region 9 can help support or provide resources to the licensing departments, even though Office of Child Care really is the responsible entity for that. So we're not sure if this meeting's actually going to happen. It was scheduled for tomorrow. And then two other things that are not listed here. Just wanted to share out that we've been waiting for quite a while now on the final rule from the Office of Head Start that actually.
Okay, because when you left, you said you were coming in an hour.
Hello? Sorry. We've been waiting for this final rule from the Office of Head Start on mitigating.
My mother has had a stroke.
And it finally was issued on January 9th, this Monday, which now removes the universal masking requirement for all individuals ages 2 and older. But it does require Head Start programs to have a COVID-19 mitigation policy in place that has been developed in consultation with their Health Services Advisory Committee. So I think we were one of the last entities that continue to have a mask mandate in place. That's now been removed. But there is a lot of flexibility in terms of when individual programs might decide that for their program, they want to reinstate the mask mandate. And then the second announcement is that many of you probably already have seen that with the new fiscal 23 budget that's being proposed, there is an increase of 960 million for Head Start nationally. I'm not sure how that comes down to what amount will come down to Hawaii actually, but this money, this increase will help in terms of providing a cost of living adjustment, COLA, for about 5.4%, which is much higher than what we usually get. It's usually more like 1 or 2%. So this is more like a 5% adjustment for Head Start, all Head Start staff. And it also includes quality improvement funding, as well as funds to expand access to Head Start and early Head Start services. And I think that, the folks who've been championing this increase in Head Start funding is because they recognize that the COLA and the quality improvement funds hopefully will help ease some of the immediate burdens of inflation, as well as help Head Start programs address the impact of childhood trauma on our kiddos, and also recruitment and retention efforts that we're all needing to engage in. So those are 2 additional share outs for you. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Next slide, please. So I'm going to just again reiterate a little bit about our P20 and speak to the role of EOEL at this point in time, and some portions of ELB that Kim had already touched on briefly. So this is just a screenshot of the press release about our awarding of the $19.9 million for our grant. And so if you're interested in reading more about the press release, feel free to take a look at the UHS system. Next slide, please. As Kim had mentioned, and so I won't go over this in great detail, but for those who are not familiar with preschool development grant, read more about this here. Next slide, please. I wanted to touch on this slide right here because when we look at this, what we're looking at is who the co-leads are and who our partners are. So EOEL is in partnership with P20, but exactly like what does that mean? And I'll explain it a little bit further in a little bit more detail, but we had a lot of very committed partners who helped in the crafting of this grant. And so again, as Kim had mentioned, our charter schools, DHS, DOH, Hawaii DOE, and our UH system, we really appreciate the amount of time and effort that, and I really like their heart that everybody put into this application to try to see how can we make the changes that we have always hoped that we could see. And so we're very hopeful in accomplishing this through this grant. Next slide, please. So when you take a look at the grant and all of those different pieces, you're going to see the elements of a quality early care and education system that includes family support, special needs and early intervention, health, mental health and nutrition, and of course, early learning. Next slide. So when you look at these required activities about our comprehensive needs assessment, strategic plan, family, parent and family engagement, our workforce, looking at quality and expanding access and creating new programs, a lot of it is all aligned, as people had said prior, and even to our roadmap that we've been creating together. Next slide. So here's where we're at right now in terms of the details of what EOEL is responsible for. So I know that Kim showed it briefly and then she kind of moved on, which is great, so that I could actually land on this page for a second. So the way that once we knew that we were awarded, EOEL and P20 got together and we started to look through each of those required activities. And we started to think about, so between P20 and EOEL, who would be a lead, who would be a support. And so this is where we're at this stage of the implementation piece. But what we are going to be doing is reconvening all of the partners who helped to write the grant, because this is one way of visualizing it. We have another document or a word column. So here's P20, here's EOEL, and then we'll start to add on the other partners and align the work of who is working on which pieces, and it will also help us with our data tracking. So when you look here, a lot of EOEL's work is assisting with scope and services and selection and looking at vendors and consultants. We're also going to be convening different groups and leading engagement activities, and also assisting with workforce development, and also looking at the performance evaluation plan for this project. So in terms of the PDGB-5 grant, we are co-leads. However, P20 is considered like the principal investigator, and then we have EOEL. So we were able to distinguish what does our partnership look like. And so that's what we've been able to pull together so far. And then we're going to continue to move forward. And as more details emerge, I can continue to present it to the board. So does anybody have any questions up until this point? Okay, next slide, please.
I think Ben has a question.
Back up, please.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Sorry, my question is on some, not part of the, well, I just had a question about the EOEL pre-K. Can I ask now? Is that okay? Or you want me to wait?
How about you ask your question and I'll see if maybe I might be addressing it later.
Okay, well, you reported that the enrollment right now is at 427. I just wanted to know what percentage that is of the full capacity.
Um, 58.
Okay, is that mainly due to keeping small class sizes or because of applications coming in?
So it's both. There are different things occurring on different campuses, but it is both. I will let you know though that there is some outreach going on right now. So one of the really neat things was there was a connection between one of our DOE homeless concerns liaisons, and we requested, well, we actually just batched out a bunch of flyers and informational brochures so that they could actually help to spread awareness of different programs that are happening in different areas. And so we are able to do that for anybody who's interested in helping to share the news about what kind of opportunities are available in our community.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide.
I think you're okay, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to touch on one piece about health, mental health, and nutrition. So I am a part of the Trauma-Informed Care Task Force, and our chair, who is Tia Roberts-Harsuck, is now the director of the Office of Wellness and Resilience. So we have a really great lead who's in that position right now. The next thing that I'm going to be talking about in terms of our Trauma-Informed Care Task Force are permitted interaction groups. They support the work of the task force. And can you go to the next slide, please? This is quite busy, and I understand. And it's too much for me to kind of go into detail about, but there are different permitted interaction groups. And at our last meeting, it was made known that if there are any members of our community here, especially like our board members, or people who are connected to this field, and if you are interested in participating in one of our, we call it piglets, but pigs permitted interaction groups, please let me know and I can help to get you connected to one of those groups. Okay, next slide, please. I wanted to give some updates. So our communication specialist position closed on January 3rd. We have a list of eligible applicants, and right now I'm currently assembling a team so that we can begin interviews for our communication specialists. Next slide. So this is our vacancy announcement. On the very bottom, you'll see we had a secretary 2 position that was posted, and this posting just closed yesterday. So we expect to receive the eligible applicants soon. Next slide. And our office has an institutional analyst position. Previously, it sat under the pre-K side of our organization. And so what we did was update the position description to have the institutional analyst support the whole work of the office. So we had to rewrite the position description, move it over so that it can support the office. And now all of that is cleared out. So the position will be posted on January 15th. So that is the end of our office updates. After this, I'm going to be moving into a budget request. So I want to stop right here to see if anybody has any questions about our updates.
I don't see anything. I think you can move
Okay,
on.
thank you. So back in August, EOEL had presented a budget request for the 23 schools that had already been made known to EOEL that they were interested in public pre-K. Go back to that. Public pre-K through our spring 2022 application process. However, since that time, we are bringing forth a new opportunity of more schools that we have been identified that have expressed interest in EOEL public pre-K. And next slide, please. So this is just a visual of our current base budget. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go through what was approved first, and then the supplemental ask, and I'll explain the difference to you. So next slide, please. Here's what was approved back in August of 2022. So you can see that we're building up our public pre-K section. Our office, we were looking for those position counts, even though only one needed to be funded. Continue to ask for the stipend program, FCIL expansion, and also efforts to support the work of our board. Next slide, please. So now it has been made known that there are 32 additional DOE classrooms. I apologize. I'm not, that number has not yet stuck with me because the count was due to me at 12 o'clock this afternoon. So, but 32 additional DOE classrooms that are interested in EOEL public pre-K. And so in this request though, however, because we met with the finance subcommittee, we were looking for an approval of up to 37. We've come in and landed on the number is 32. So the FTE counts under EOEL public pre-K for year 1 is going to support the onboarding and the mentoring of these individuals. We also, because we are potentially going to grow and expand, we're going to need a little bit more systems positions to support our office. And these would include some data pieces and some policy pieces to support the entire office. But we have still made known that we are still asking for the stipend program money, the FCIL expansion, and our ELB requests as we've been presenting to the House and the other finance committee tomorrow. Next slide. Then when we look out to year 2 of this biennium, next slide. This is where we are looking at the additional FTE counts for public pre-K. The FTE count, Oh, no, I'm so sorry, so sorry. This is the approved August 22 ask. I apologize. So this is what was already approved, and the next slide, please. Okay, so this is where it jumps a bit because now it would be inclusive of the 23 existing EOEL classroom FTEs, in addition to what we had budgeted for here is up to 37 FTE counts for the public pre-K, our systems building piece, but always advocating again for our stipend program, our FCIL expansion, and support of our board. So next slide, please. Again, when we were looking at our EOEL strategic priorities, when this new opportunity arose for these additional rooms who've expressed interest, we went back to our EOL strategic priorities and looked at increasing equitable access and utilization of early childhood opportunities, coordinating this program, supporting our workforce, implementing the requirements of Act 46 and our goal to get to 50% and 100% in now 4 and 9 years. Promoting collaboration in the field from prenatal through kindergarten across public and private sectors, and also expanding the capacity of EOEL and ELB. This renewed request would still meet our EOEL strategic priorities. So the ask today is to see.
You want to go back one more slide, okay?
Sure.
You want to approve the total amount and the inclusions on this budget request. So the total amount of the, now I'm assuming that under the public pre-K, that 9.3 is both the 23 and the 32. So all of those costs, this is what you're asking the board to approve now.
Do I need to first wait and see if I can ask questions before I ask questions?
Why don't we ask, Justina, does the finance committee have a recommendation?
Yeah, and Steve isn't here, right? So I can go ahead and do it because we did get a chance to meet with Yuko and review this. So the motion would be, and then we'll open up to discussion, right? At your discretion, Bob, is we'd like to approve EOEL's new request for the budget amounts listed on here. So the total there is 18. You can see the total. I'm sorry, it's a little small on my screen when I'm looking at it. And that would be the request that you would go forward because you have to put them in for the governor's budget.
And I will second that motion. So now we can open up the floor for questions and discussion. And I see there are 2 items in the chat already, Carrie, and then Kailani.
Yeah, actually, it doesn't relate to this actual vote. I think this vote's pretty straightforward. It has to do more with strategy, so I can wait.
Okay. Kailani.
Aloha. Okay, I did have a couple of questions. I mean, this is really exciting, all this information and how it's being presented. So mahalo, Yuko and the team for getting this together for us. I was wondering if we would be able to get a better understanding of where these new sites might be or where the applications are coming in from. Is that something that we can discuss or take a look at?
Hey, Eleni, I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. Can you ask it again, please?
So in particular to the 32 sites that are interested, I was just wondering if we would have a chance to understand where those are, where those requests are coming from.
Or are you asking for the specific names of the schools?
Which schools?
Are we in a position to be able to share that information yet, or is it premature?
I think it's premature right now. I think that these are locations that have expressed interest in opening up the pre-K, but they're not funded. And what we're trying to do is secure funding for their ask. So EOEL worked with the Hawaii Department of Education because originally there was a list of probably over 40 something schools that kind of came after the EOEL application, and then it's kind of whittled back, and then we've been able to try to figure out who's really interested, and then do they really understand the requirements of EOEL public pre-K and those kinds of things. So we had to jump on a call with the CASs. So right now we can see who is interested, but it does not necessarily mean that they have or will be funded yet. So I think that for me, it's premature right now.
Kealani, at this point, it probably is not a public statement, because not only have they not been funded, but they have not fully committed yet. But they are in a position to be ready to commit should funding become available, is our understanding. The DOE has not released those names either, I believe. Can you hold on that?
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm interested in that is just because of that high number and where they're going to be opening up, especially if we're not at capacity right now. I'm just trying to think long term. I know this is a budget approval, but if our ask is high and we're not able to deliver on it, I just want to make sure that we're kind of thinking that side of it through as well. So that was the reason for my question, but I also understand that we're not at a stage where we can really go into details. So mahalo.
Yuko, is it fair to share a little bit about the first 23 went through the EOEL process, the normal EOEL process of applying and getting EOEL to vet them and approve, right? And so I think it's safe to share that the DOE kind of did a more like just a random list, who else is interested. And so I think Yuko was put in a spot to just kind of sort that out once the list became known. And so is that fair enough to share, Yuko?
I think it is.
Yeah, so it was the other additional schools that had expressed an interest hadn't gone through the normal EOEL full application route and then vetted it by EOEL. I think the best way to say it is Yuko got tossed the list and we kind of had to sort through that list, and so that's why they're not specifically identified, but we think there's 32 schools out there that are kind of saying they're ready, but haven't gone through the normal vetting process. And I think if I can just kind of share in that favor, if the ask doesn't go into this budget now, which the worst case they could say no and just say this is you're only approved for the original ask of 23, that next group of schools would have to wait a whole nother year, right, to get started. So I think the DOE's position is probably to, if we can support schools that are ready, can we consider it? And that's where this board is being asked if you would consider it. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions? Justina.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess in part it's echoing some thanks to Rochelle for sharing that in that we have been in the position in the past where there's been sort of expressed interest from schools about opening public pre-K, but we get the budget wasn't available there to help them expand in that timely way. I think the other piece to consider as board members is with the 200 million that's available for preschool facilities, some of that can be used both for renovation. These are all new spaces, right? All new spaces for kids' seats. And so this also helps potentially unlock some of the dollars that could be used for renovating the preschool classrooms if needed. And anyway, just to kind of think about that, this would allow us the wiggle room for up to 32 classrooms to open in the next pretty short window of time.
Thank you for adding that. That did so when the DOE did meet with EOEL, the School Facilities Authority was also on that conversation, and you're absolutely right. Then it would be a venue for that office to start spending their money as well. Thank
you. Mari, you had a question, a comment?
Who, is that me? Is that somebody else?
It's you, Mari.
Oh, okay, thank you, thank you. I just wanted to make a comment. Yes, the capacity is not completely full right now, but I'm all for expanding the locations, because when I'm sharing with the families or the other pediatricians that, they look for where it's available. And then I think that's kind of important for us, that in different places it's available. And then there are lots of people who don't know. So, when we actually talk about it, I think we can get more students. I think because of the COVID, there's a little bit hesitancy from the parent side too. I mean, it's not just the DOE. Any school, I'm going to keep my kid one more year. That's happening too. So, that has to be counted. But I like the idea that you are expanding and then considering more locations, the classrooms in different places. Thank you.
Okay, Carrie, you said your question was ready now.
Yeah, I want to ask ourselves what the strategy is going to be to answer the question, why are we expanding to 32 classrooms, which I'm in 100% full support on, when we only are filling at 58%. And so I want us all, as we help to support this budget for EOEL, that we all have the same talking points around that, because I do worry that they're going to look at that and ask those questions. And I just think we should have some consistent answers to that. So that's just a comment.
That's a good point.
And then I had two questions. One came from an FCIL provider who I missed the last meeting, so I couldn't answer the question. And I see here we have FCIL expansion. Did the language get changed in EOEL's budget or in EOEL's line item that took out the word FCIL?
No.
I don't believe so, Carrie.
Oh, okay, good. I will let Sean know. And then the second question is for this ELB 123,000, what will that go to?
The institutional analyst position, the contracted work for helping the board
Do systems development.
system development, travel, office supplies associated with these requests. That part was
Great.
Yeah, it's the same as was in our original budget approved request.
Okay, great, thank you.
apologize. So just so I can clarify, so when it says new, not everything on that slide is new, that's a new total.
Oh, okay, thank you. That's what I was wondering. Okay, I thought it was an additional. Okay.
Megan, you said you had a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think there's been a lot of discussion about my question already, but my question was kind of like Iolani's. I just thank you very much for this budget presentation. I just wanted to really clarify what happens to the money if, the plan is for all these classrooms, but we do have this capacity issue and we can't either start them because the application process, as you referenced before, or fill the seats. Like, does something happen to this money, or maybe could you explain that process? Or contingency plan if we're planning for a contingency in case we can't fill these seats?
So that's a really good question. So as far as I know, the people who have expressed interest, whether it was the original 23 or the second set, have all expressed that there's needs in their community and that they are fairly certain that they need to move forward with this to meet the needs of their community. And that's how it has been expressed to me. I think that, sometimes when we look at our enrollment of EOEL pre-K, it looks a little odd because you could have one location that has like a huge wait list, and then you can have another one that's not necessarily filled to capacity. So it's kind of like, why are we not filled in all spaces? It's just because you can't pull out the wait list and maybe send them to another island or another space or what have you. So there are different things that impact different communities. And so one of the things that we have been talking about in our office is how can we put out our communication or more effectively partner with community organizations to really let families know about these opportunities that exist. So not just EOEL public pre-K, but whether it's Head Start or Pre-Plus or FCIL programs that are actually in their community. So as I was mentioning, speaking to that prior homeless concerns liaison, they were not aware that there was FCIL programs in their area. So we were able to connect them and let them know how they can access and refer out to their families those other opportunities too. And so that's kind of our strategy right now. So we know that we've been looking at how many people are eligible to potentially, like, what does the workforce look like in these spaces, but also know that we are trying to support the workforce through our stipend program and through other initiatives that are out there in partnering with the university systems to see how we can build our workforce, not only for EOEL public pre-K, but for our whole sector in general. So there's a lot of effort going on to build the workforce in general, because after we educate people, they can choose where they want to be employed. And so there is a lot of work to try to build a workforce for everybody at this point in time as well.
I realize that you have a great deal of work to do right now, but it might be helpful to develop a responsive talking points that you could share with the board around the difference in capacity to be able to fill in spaces.
Okay.
Just what some of the reasons are that we have those talking points.
Sure.
I'm going to move to take the vote on this issue because we are way over our scheduled time at the moment. So I think it's time for us to move forward and vote on the approval of the additional request, adding the 32 into the original 23 request with a total of over $18 million as presented. Justina?
Aye.
Erin?
Aye.
Okay, Yeleni?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
May?
Aye.
I vote aye. Napua?
Aye.
Mari?
Aye.
Carrie?
Enthusiastically, aye.
So it's an I plus, huh? Melody? Mel? Well, maybe she had to go home.
I see her shaking her head, but she's on mute.
The motion has been approved for the additional budget request. So the office is free to move forward to submitting that as a request with the board's approval. Thank you very much for that work. All right, we're going to move along pretty quickly here with the items that remain on the agenda. We have some information to be provided about the Hawaii Business Collaboratory, and Keiko, you were the one who.
Thank you. Yes, and I know we're short on time. So again, thank you for allowing us this time to share. I'll be short because this is really just an opportunity to share what this is about. And of course, there'll be more opportunities for folks to get involved. So can you share the PowerPoint slide? Okay. And as we are waiting, I'll just keep moving forward. So I just wanted to share with you that Hawaii had an opportunity. We were invited to apply for, and we were selected to be one of 16 states to work with the First Children's Finance Project. So a few members of the team were able to travel to work with the First Children's Finance and other states to begin to draft some action plans and receive technical assistance. So again, the purpose of this is so that we can learn from other states and we can get some technical assistance and to kind of share best practices about financing the business side of childcare. So we drafted 5 different action plans. Again, it's a little bit hard to see in that gray area. I apologize, my PowerPoints weren't up to speed, but there are 5 different action plans that we're working on, and they're really all in alignment with ongoing activities. So for example, with the preschool development grant, with Terry's ECE3, as well as with a lot of work that Hawaii Careers with Young Children is doing and what Department of Human Services was working on, of course, Act 46 and Act 210. So we really want to just let you know that these were some of the different activities that we're working on. There's members of the board who are also on the team. We're a small but mighty team, and you'll see the members there. So of course, we have Justina from Hawaii Community Foundation. Jordana has been representing the Executive Office on Early Learning, and both Dana Luca and Stacy Tonouchi have been on this, as well as Carol Ware and Marianne Nimboto. So Carol from Patch and Marianne from Learning to Grow. And then Keopu from Hawaii Children's Action Network has been on this. And then I represent Department of Health. So there's many people who are on the board or that you can contact if you have more info or have questions or want to get more involved. The 5 areas that we're looking at again is things that are already going. So again, how we collaborate with others and make sure that we're communicating so we're all in alignment. I think that's going to be the theme for the day. So we'll be looking at that workforce registry that we're developed or that Department of Human Services is already working on, looking at a true cost of care study, to align with the market rate study that's always been happening on an ongoing basis, to really look at that true cost of care. Coordinating and working on the interagency expansion coordination for 3 and 4-year-olds, although we recognize that, of course, we need for all kids. Workforce compensation, because we know we can't have the workforce carry this burden alone. We really need to support them in many ways. And then looking at business efficiency. So there's a lot of different projects that we'll be working on. But again, we're trying to make sure that we align with different efforts so that we're not creating new work groups or new work teams. So if folks have any information or questions and want to follow up, they are always welcome to contact me or any of the members of the team. Thank you for allowing me this time to share. I really want to keep it short and sweet. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact any one of us.
Okay. Thank you, Keiko. Anyone have any urgent questions right now before Keiko leaves the screen? Must have been perfectly clear, Keiko. There are none. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for sharing. We're now going to move to subcommittee reports, and the first one is Ben was going to give a brief update from the Strategic Implementation Subcommittee. Ben?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Just a really brief update. Wanted to let you all know that the roadmap was fully drafted and submitted the week of the 19th. Bob and I talked, I don't know if it's this week or last week, and we haven't gotten any type of response just yet, or any question just yet. So our SI committee will now be focusing our efforts around state plan, as well as anticipate, as mentioned earlier, the PDG B5 work that's going to be going on. And so our next meeting, we're still in the midst of coordinating our next meeting. It'll probably happen within the next couple of weeks. I sent out a doodle poll to all the members to ask for their availability. So we do plan on having a meeting before our next February ELB meeting. I know one of the things that we'll be picking up kind of where we left off in June, because initially in June when we started meeting, we were starting to talk about state plan and the PDG B5 grant notice just came out, and then we focused our attention to the roadmap, and so we're going to be picking up kind of where we left off in June around state plan efforts, monitoring it, not necessarily oversight, but more monitoring the work of the state plan, and then exploring our role to help support state plan efforts, strategic implementation, and the PDGB Birth Through 5 grant, and really making sure we are at the disposal of EOEL and the groups that are doing the implementation work to see if there's anything that needs to come to ELB. It'll certainly come through the Strategic Implementation Committee to discuss and possibly make some recommendations to ELB. So more to come over the next year as we move forward.
Okay. Thank you, Ben, and thank you again to this SI subcommittee for all the extra work it put in to help get the roadmap ready for delivery on time. We appreciate it. Justina, the Workforce Equity Subcommittee has a action item related to a policy statement that you introduced to us at the last meeting. Everybody has received a copy via their email, so I'll turn it over to you to move this issue forward.
Okay, aloha. So just gonna really recap some of the conversation we had, and then we had introduced this in December as a policy statement on track development, care, and learning in your board packet. So if you have it in front of you, do go ahead and pull out the new PDF version, because we worked on it. Our committee worked on it between the December meeting based on some initial feedback we got at the December meeting. And then today, the idea is that we'll actually take action and vote on it. So our Early Educator Workforce Equity Committee, just as a reminder, there's several board members on that. So that's myself, Mel Vega, Kaiulani, and Bob joins us as he can. EOEL representation with Georgina, and also community members, Dr. Terry Locke, Deborah Zeisman. And we're also really lucky that in the in-between meeting, we had a special guest of having Megan McCorston from Siegel Schools join us to kind of really work through the policy statement one more time. So where this is coming from in terms of why now have ELB look at a policy statement. We're in the middle of this kind of major interest in early care and learning in Hawaii, including several policies that have been mentioned earlier today. So Act 46, Act 210, Act 257, all of which contribute to greatly expanding, especially early care and learning for 3- and 4-year-olds. So as we think about that, we wanted to think about what are like the guiding principles and things we could be doing in support of that work through ELB adopted policy statement. And then just as a reminder, just because we haven't had too many policy statements come through besides our own governance in the past, what a policy statement like this can do is help us both as a board, but also hopefully for EOEL, clarify positions and priorities. There's a lot of alignment with our adopted policy priorities, that framework that Bob has presented. It can help direct staff time and funding from EOEL and serve as guiding principles for decision-making when thinking about projects, initiatives, or legislation. So with that, and Ashley, if you are able to share up the PDF version, just in case people don't have it with them. The revised statement, I'm just going to draw your attention to 2 things that have changed since we all looked at it together in December. The first part is we really wanted to be clear that what we're wanting to promote is 2 key elements related to workforce development. So you'll see that we actually removed from that something that was a little bit confusing for folks, referencing the greater work of the power to the profession, the unifying framework. and just left it at what our core intention was around this policy statement, which is what we're trying to do is be supportive of this workforce development aspect for our state and our community. And two of the key elements that we felt ready to move on and for EOEL to promote are the first there around supporting early childhood professional preparation and development programs. Wanted to clarify these could be both in service, like our higher education institutions, which are often referred to as the early childhood professional preparations, as well as development programs, things that we might consider that are doing ongoing professional growth and development, offering things that might be more community-based or available once you're actually working in a program, in an early childhood program. So that's the one change I wanted to, those are the two changes I wanted to call your attention to between last meeting and this one. The second item really didn't change too much in terms of the spirit, but we just looked at the language and tried to narrow it into what we could make it the most concise and clear statement. So it now reads about promoting improvements in workforce compensation. And we wanted to be clear that we weren't limiting that to only thinking about wages, which might be the first place people's brains go to, salaries and benefits. There may be other things that match that compensation that could be worked on. And then the second part of that really speaks to EOEL's potential role in the early childhood systems building, which is institutionalizing equitable compensation structures. And things that kind of fall into that is a state working on, or state and community partners working on adopting a salary schedule, looking at different levels of compensation that could be applied across the field. So hopefully you guys have had a chance to spend some time with this between last meeting and this. Maybe get a chance to talk with other folks who are in your constituency group. And I think what the plan is now, Bob, can I make the motion, or maybe someone else from my group could, from our subcommittee can make the motion, and then we could open it up for discussion.
You can make the motion.
Okay, well, let me see. Does anyone from our subcommittee want to make the motion?
So moved. This is Kuyulani.
Thank you, Caroline. Is there a second?
Second,
Oh, thank you.
Melody.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? I did want to add one thing, just if I may. In preparation for another subcommittee meeting, I was looking at some of the statute language, and under 302L-2, which is about the early learning system, it says the early learning system shall be developed and administered by the Executive Office on early learning to the extent permissible by law. And then a list, the early learning system shall, and one of the items is provide high quality early learning experiences with sufficient numbers of well-qualified educators and administrators who are fairly compensated and have access to continuing professional development. So this policy statement certainly aligns and broadens a bit, because educators is the word here. The recommendation that you're making. Carrie.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, and I'm sorry I missed the last meeting, the purpose of the policy statement and how it will be used. And if we intentionally narrowed to early childhood education for a specific purpose. And I'm wondering if we shouldn't use early learning for consistency. And it also, right, we have workforce, these issues in early intervention and in home visiting as well. And so but it could be that we were very strategic in the narrowing.
Yeah, that's a good question and observation, Carrie. I think the spirit of the language, so you're saying in that first part of where it says high quality early childhood education, if that's inconsistent with the statute, maybe we should change it. But the idea, it was really starting, and especially because I would say the intention of our subcommittee was set up to work on a couple things. One was it was set up right in the development of the workforce strategic implementation plan, and to carry out like some of the key recommendations from that strategic implementation plan, as well as it came online in conjunction with Hawaii being awarded through UH doing the educator equity grant that was awarded. And it really did have a focus on the lead educator role in this work. And so I think what I would say for now, I think we want to keep it contained in that early learning space, but knowing that we want to expand out to broader parts of the workforce.
So what I hear you saying is right now the focus is on more center-based when we say early childhood education.
Oh, no, not center-based. It's everything that makes up our early childhood education system. So those are all noted in our plan, the 4 settings. Although I would say not home visiting, right? Because they count as one of our settings. So maybe the first 3, so FCILs, childcare, both center-based and family childcare homes.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Bob, this is Melody. I'm just validating what Justina said, maybe for clarification, it is a strategy, and I think the teacher role, so that's really what we were looking at in the subcommittee when we're looking at the current right now, because that's where Terry's work is, as well as our subcommittee's work is really looking at that teacher and all the different titles that teacher role has, and FCILs and family childcare and group childcare, but that teacher role. So it's like, that's the early childhood education piece.
And one other, I guess, context for this is we are kind of dipping our toe into adopting policy with ELB right now. And the intention or the hope is that as we actually could have other subcommittees and our own committee to introduce other ones in the future that could both expand on this, but also address other parts of our system that we're really looking to strengthen by having shared guiding principles about what it means. So it's a yes and, if you will, because we want to see more of this coming to ELB.
And to add to that, there is a process that the governance committee has defined for how that should be happening, but perhaps we need to review it for everyone. Is it Erin who has it? Erin, did I see?
Yes.
Comment?
Thank you. And actually, I was I'm glad Chair Peters that you brought up that there is a process for this, because I'm thinking, wow, I think our subcommittee might need to take a look at some of potential policies to propose. I guess what I guess I can understand. I guess I want to echo Carrie's kind of concern with the languaging of this policy. When it did have the power to the profession, it did become very clear to me that it was for the teacher role that Melody was referencing for the settings, but without that piece, it does seem a little more general to all providers in the early childhood arena. And I do know that early intervention in particular does have some challenges with retaining staff in those in some of the programs, particularly the highly specialized and trained staff to meet the needs of our little ones. And I guess that speaks to me as being important, because if this policy title is relating to supports for on-track development, that is the part I think that makes this policy feel a little broader than perhaps what you guys are proposing. So I hope I'm making sense. I guess maybe that's where the confusion or the languaging might lie, is in the title of the policy, is that your policy feels as if it wants to be targeted, but then the title seems broad. And I think it does leave out some of the other pieces of the system that do go to support on-track development, care, and learning, that could also benefit from having a policy to support their professional profession as well as their compensation. So I think I just wanted to uplift that part.
Okay,
So
that's helpful. I mean, there might be a way, I'm thinking, because we're not even sure how this will get sort of recorded in some ways. So perhaps the way we tag or title it can be a bit more organized, once we get it somewhere that's more publicly shareable. I'd definitely be open to that. So it creates the clarity for people on that these are really talking about some of the workforce strategies for early care and education.
Are there any other questions or comments before we move the question for voting?
just a comment, Bob. Interestingly enough, the dilemma even lies within that teacher role within the different types of center-based settings and family child interaction learning. So even within those settings that have teacher roles, there's always going to be the dilemma with the part to the profession or standards. But all roles, I think, have to include development, care, and learning. And if we're starting with the teacher role in the center-based family child interaction learning, infant toddler, family child care, maybe just that start will open up, like Justina said, conversation around the additional roles that provide the same development, care, and learning, but they just have a different job title. Or so it's a start to open a door to further conversations. But the dilemma lies within even those settings that we're talking about. There's always going to be where people won't have all, or even be able to include all of the same types of standards and things, because they just run different types of programs. So this conversation I find interesting, because we have the same conversation in our workforce meeting, but we are talking about basically just center-based infant toddler family child interaction learning. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because it is always a dilemma when we bring workforce stuff up.
All right, we're going to hear from Carrie and then Mari.
No, I just said maybe another suggestion would be to define the settings, for saying exactly what Melody just said, center-based, home-based, and family child interaction learning programs. It might just give more clarification, because the everyday person reading that first sentence may not know what we're talking about, because I'm not sure we're all clear on what we're talking about either. So, I think more clarity, the better.
And I'll let me just respond to that, and then I think there was another comment from Mari that wants to come on. Actually, that first part of the statement, we shared this a little bit in December, is meant to be sort of the preamble to the policy statement. So we actually do want to keep it broad and say define that being across all settings so that we don't get too narrowed in or pigeonholed around what policy could be implemented. Perhaps there is an opportunity to move in other parts that support workforce development. So I just want to point that out with some of the flexibility that's allowed by having a policy statement that uses, you know, a little bit more broad terms and settings. And then, yeah, I think that was the main thing. So just it was preamble at top, but then the two things we're recommending the EOEL promotes are the ones that are listed below. And those are the first two. That's where we're kind of saying it's a, yes, here's a start. And we'd love to start seeing like maybe more policies that map to what we're trying to achieve through ELB and EOEL in the future.
Okay, and Murray.
Okay, my comment was related to the first comment of Kerry about the title. So I think the big difference between the early intervention and then the other setting of the early learning that we're talking about is early intervention is the therapy sessions and then eligibility is the delay. So I think that makes a little difference in terms of how we capture it. We actually interact together, but it is a different program. I just wanted to make a comment.
And then I just made a recommendation to replace for number 1, rather than supporting early childhood professional preparation, maybe supporting early education professional preparation for consistency.
It's hard because it's also defined by early childhood professional preparation is used as a term to define the higher education institution programs that support early childhood folks going into the profession, like our early educators. So I would want to stick with what's being used in both national but already existing Hawaii language. But I do get, and I get what you're saying though, Carrie. You're wanting it to be more precise for sure.
Yeah, it just leaves a lot of, I mean, we say we're focused on teachers, but then that number 1, when we talk about early childhood professional preparation programs, that could also include our, you know, our on-ramps for home visitation and for early intervention, as well as the development programs, which are many. So that statement's very broad.
All right, we have time for one more comment or question before we take the vote.
Hi, it's Erin. So I have a clarifying question that will help me, hopefully. So if I'm understanding this correctly, we're voting to adopt this as a board. Is that correct? That this would then be our board's position. Am I understanding this correctly? Okay. Okay, I guess I'm asking that because I do, you know, like, I do feel like we want to support the entire early childhood continuum. And so I hesitate in adopting something so singularly focused if it's not without being able, I don't know what the answer is to this, I guess, but I guess I hesitate to have something very singularly focused when we do have the entire continuum that we want to support. So I don't know if there's an answer. I don't know, Chair Peters, if perhaps you can provide some guidance here.
I'm not sure.
I guess I don't want us to be looked at like if, say, this gets posted on our website somewhere, and then people question whether or not the Early Learning Board truly does support the entire continuum of early childhood professionals, if we're only taking a look at.
You're saying that the way it's presented now, it's not clear whether or not it supports the entire continuum. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. If it's a policy that we approve, it will ultimately be put into a policy up on our website, but we're certainly not ready for that piece yet. We don't have any place for a policy manual, which we have started working on. And so I don't know that it would be publicly presented yet in that sense. But it could very well, it would certainly be approved in our minutes, and it would be visible. And those would be published on our website.
And I'm hoping maybe this helps a little bit, Erin, which in December I had a chance to like briefly flash up on the screen. We shared the Board of Education's policy library. I think that's the term they use. And the way that so for example, Board of Education has a lot of different policy categories. They have things related to student wellness, academic growth, like a bunch of these things that would be headers. And I would expect as we roll out in ELB, I think part of the maybe what you're feeling in the cognitive dissonance is that we don't yet have like a whole stable policies that we've adopted as ELB. And so we'd like more, but yet we got to start somewhere. So this is one that we're putting on the table as supporting one aspect of workforce development and something that has a lot of momentum going on right now. You can see from both the, very related to acts and things that have passed, but also even in the mornings, or not morning, the afternoon's PDG presentation. So I don't know if that helps clarify, and that in my mind and maybe in others is like, we hope that there be many different policy categories that ELB is taking a stance on that helps provide some guidance for EOEL, and also publicly presents the way ELB and EOEL kind of carries out the terms of its statute.
Yes, thank you. I think that is kind of my hesitation, is kind of like, where does this fall under? If it was in a specific category, then that would kind of make sense and feel good to me. But I guess the title as it stands is a little where I guess we're trying to approve something without the structure in place, so it's a little bit tough, I think, for me to kind of put it all together. Okay.
I think that one of the things to consider is by voting, the way you vote will determine whether or not this moves forward. And a vote not to approve would say that the committee could go back and revisit, listening to some of the questions. A vote to approve says that the EOEL will support these two items moving forward. So it would influence testimony, for example. It would influence bills perhaps that were being used. Somebody asked about how would this be used. Those would be the way it happens. I think there is a distinct difference between the kind of policies we're going to end up developing, because this is a system building board. The Board of Education is a closed system in the sense that it is a K through 12, strictly a K through 12 system. We're talking about a much broader piece. And so how we organize policies eventually is going to have to be looked at from a systemic point of view beyond the governance that we have set aside. But I think at this point, we've heard the issues and the concerns that people have. So I think if people are willing to say they're comfortable with moving forward with this policy, then they can approve it. People who are not comfortable with it should vote against approving it at this point. And there may be some people who are not ready to vote at all and can abstain from the vote. We have to have 6 members 7 members to approve, since a quorum is 6, in order for us to have this approved. So I am going to call the question. We have pretty much, I think, covered the waterfront. The motion has been made and seconded to approve this policy as it's presented. We'll take a vote. Justina?
Aye.
Erin?
No.
Lenny?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
May,
Aye.
I vote aye. Napua,
Aye.
Mari,
Aye.
Sherry,
No.
Melody.
Aye.
Okay, the policy has been approved as presented by the board. Thank you to the Workforce Equity Subcommittee for its work and Justina for sharing and moving us forward with this policy. We have some issues that obviously have come up we need to think about with regard to the policy process that we have in place and how we're going to utilize and categorize and publicize the policies we have, so we can take a look at that as well. All right. We'll move to the next item, which is the leadership updates, and the only update I had for this meeting was to remind everyone that there is a new mandatory ethics training law, which took effect January 1 of this year. Board and staff members who have not already taken ethics training can do so through a self-guided ethics training course on the website of the Ethics Commission, or they can attend one of the live webinars. They're also listed on the schedule. Early Learning Board members and EOL staff are not required to take the live learning session, so you can simply take the self-guided training if you opt to do that. Once that has been completed, there are instructions for how one goes about receiving a certificate of completion, and that certificate will guarantee that you do not need to take the course again for another 4 years. So that covers you over a 4-year span. I assume there will be some checking on whether or not people have moved forward with this. So please put it on your calendar as something you need to pay attention to. I'll remind people periodically that we need to keep this on our to-do lists. All right, we will move next to any additional public comment at this portion of the meeting, with a reminder that there's a 2-minute time limit and that comments have to be referencing agenda items. Is there any public comment? I see nothing in the chat. Jordana, is that correct? All right. There appear to be no public comments at this point in the meeting, so we'll move to member updates. Ben.
Hi. Brief update. We, like Chris mentioned, we did have our Head Start Association meeting yesterday, and we were able to get some updates from the 6 early Head Start grantees around enrollment. Enrollment kind of varies by the different grantees, but overall, I'd say we're about at around 80% capacity. Some programs are close to full, if not full, and there are some programs that are kind of around the 60%. The main issue seems to be around staffing, staff vacancies, primarily for infants and toddlers, as well as in the preschool settings. And then also just getting applications to come in is also an issue for some of the programs. Doing some outreach with families in the communities that Head Start and Early Head Start's available is getting the word out around the vacancies. So there are openings in the majority of the Early Head Start programs across the state. Just letting you guys know. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Matt?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Bob. 2 updates. First update, governance subcommittee. I apologize. We had to change our normal ELB governance subcommittee meeting, and it will actually be held tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Anyone who would possibly be interested in being a guest attendee, we will be discussing the EOEL director evaluation and also outlining the board's purpose and value based on a review of the different acts. And so this is part of the action plan and timeline to that we submitted as part of the response to I'm blanking on the number 34, SCR 34. So that's tomorrow at 1 o'clock. If you're interested in attending, please email me and I will add you, send you the Zoom link and send you some pre-read material. Anyone is welcome. Second is we have a new director at the Department of Health as of Monday, Dr. Kenny Fink, F-I-N-K. So please, when you guys do the updates to the minutes, when you list my name, it'll be representing Director Fink. That's all I got. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Matt. I don't see any other updates in the chat. Are there any others? All right, seeing none, we will move to review the agenda outcomes and ask Carrie for some good words for us to leave on today. The outcomes for this meeting that I've captured are, first of all, the announcement of the PGGB 5 renewal grant award with an overview and a request to send the PDF to board members, which we shall do. The second one is the approval of the budget request to add 32 DOE classrooms to the original 23 requests that the board had previously approved, along with the inclusion of those items on the earlier approved budget request that did not relate to the additional classrooms. The chair will put information out regarding the governance committee's approved process for policy development, so all subcommittees can be familiar with the recommended process. And finally, the approval of the workforce equity subcommittee policy statement, support for on-track development, care, and learning occur. Those were the primary outcomes that I have for this meeting. Is there anything that has been missed that should be added? I don't hear anything or see anything in the chat. So we'll turn to Carrie for some words of wisdom as we close out this meeting.
Sure, thanks, Bob. With so much on the horizon for 2023, and given the amount of work that everybody on this call has put in over the last many decades to get here, I wanted to find an appropriate New Year's and hopeful quote. And it's from Beyonce. In our perfect ways, in the ways we are beautiful, in the ways we are human, we are here. Happy New Year's. Let's make it ours.
So we need to buy the libs of what we're doing. Thank you, Carrie, and a productive and full first meeting of the new year. Looking forward to more. And thank you all for the good work you do on behalf of Hawaii's Keiki. Mahalo. Have a good between now and then.